What's up everybody, it's RJ with Twin Halos, and today we're here in the desert at this little turn track and we're going to tune our suspension. So what we're going to do, we're going to start with the stock settings, and then from there we're going to tune it to however we like it based on today's situation. So if you've never tuned your suspension before, this is the video that you're going to want to watch. That way you know where to start and then where to go from there. All right, dumb question. Now that you've got your suspension tuned, how does it feel?
So much better, so much smoother.
And it's just on the stock setting. We haven't adjusted anything else. So now that he's got a chance to ride it, it's smooth, and his rear wheel has plenty of traction over all the bumps, and you couldn't see that, or you couldn't feel that before when you were riding the bike without the suspension the way it is. If you haven't tuned your suspension, put it to the stock setting, because your clickers may be way off and you're fighting the bike, and that might be causing your arm pump because you're just fighting the bike. So try that. All right, so now that the bike is dialed in as far as stock settings go on the suspension, where do we go from here? Now, if you saw the bike swapping back and forth, that's before we even set up the bike, back to the stock settings. So imagine riding an entire motocross track with the bike doing exactly that through every single obstacle. That's not gonna feel good, and you're fighting the bike. You're not gonna have finesse as you go around the track. That same little area where the bike was swapping back and forth, there's some square edge bumps where the front end doesn't feel good. It feels really harsh, and on top of that, when I go over rollers, when the front end lands on top of the following roller, it doesn't feel good in the front end. So what I would do for my situation, I would soften up the compression 1 to 2 clicks and then go over those same obstacles to see, is it worse, is it better, or is it the same? So I would do that, and if it feels better, I would also take it to the turns and see, does the bike still turn? Does it affect anything else? So that's the thing about motocross suspension, is you can set it up for one obstacle and it might ruin the next. So you got to make sure that the bike is still capable of turning, and you may have to sacrifice those bumps feeling harsh for it to turn really well. So this is a balance that you're going to have to do and learn how to test your suspension. So start small, start with 1 to 2 clicks and then go test. For the rear, I think I would soften it maybe one more time, because we're in some soft turns, but I want the bike to sit in the turn just a little bit more. So I would soften the compression maybe 1 click. I would take it out and see on the small bumps, does it feel good, and does it still continue to turn? So the terms high speed and low speed when dealing with suspension only mean how fast the compression on the suspension is going and how fast the rebound is. It doesn't necessarily mean how fast the bike is moving. So understand, it's just how fast the suspension is compressed and how fast the rebound is. That's where you want to see on acceleration bumps. Is the rear tire sitting in each of those bumps? Is it maintaining traction as you go through there? That's why there's these adjustments to make sure that the rear tire, not just the rear tire, but the front as well, is tracking along the track and is able to stick and maintain traction through these obstacles. So this is where everything can get tricky, but refer to your manual. That way you have a place to start, and as you get better at tuning your suspension, you won't need the manual, and you will know how to adjust your suspension based on whatever track conditions that you're at. So if you're going from track to track, set up your suspension to the stock settings and then adjust it after you go mess around on the track, because you might go to a sandy track one day and then a hard pack track the next day. Your suspension is not going to be the same for each. It could be close based on those certain conditions, but set it up. That way you have your suspension dialed in for that track, and the next time you go, you can write down those settings and just set the bike up for that track. Same thing with the other track. make sure that you're writing these things down, that we don't always have to carry your manual around. This is where to start. Now, I know this video can seem very vague on how to set up your suspension. That's because there's no perfect suspension setup for every track condition. This is where you're gonna have to take the bike out and actually test what you're gonna do from stock setting. So set up your suspension back to stock, because this bike was maybe 10 to 12 clicks off from stock and it felt horrible to ride. So now it is where it is and it feels a lot better. So next time you go out riding, make sure you set up your suspension. That way you're not fighting the bike, you're reducing your arm pump, and you have more fun on the bike. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Other than that, that's it for me today. I'm RJ with Twin Halos, and I'll see you guys in the next video.